St. Louis, Missouri. Train station. August 29th, 1925, Saturday morning. Babe Ruth has been drinking all night, gambling, no sleep. He missed the 6 a.m. train. The team went to St. Louis. He stayed behind. Afternoon finally arrives and he makes it to the city, goes to the stadium, walks into the locker room, and Miller Huggins, Yankees manager, is waiting for him. Small man, 5'6", tall, 140 pounds, but his eyes show rage. "Babe, you're done. You're suspended from the team. $5,000 fine. You're not coming back." Ruth laughs, not taking the small manager seriously. "You can't suspend me. I'm Babe Ruth. I am this team." Huggins doesn't back down. "You're not bigger than this team. Nobody is. Leave, now." Ruth gets angry, grabs Huggins, lifts him, slams him against the wall, hand around his throat. Physical threat. Huggins doesn't shake. "Let me go," he says. "Now." Ruth's face is red, his hand on Huggins's throat. 220 pounds of rage, and in that moment, in that room, the most dangerous 30 seconds in baseball history begins. The locker room is silent, dead silent. 22 players stand frozen, equipment bags dropped on the floor, uniforms half on. Nobody moves, nobody speaks. They are witnessing something that should not be happening. Their star player, the greatest hitter in baseball, has his hand wrapped around their manager's throat. This is not a disagreement. This is assault. This is career suicide. This is the moment everything changes. The air itself feels heavy, thick, like the atmosphere before a lightning strike. Metal lockers line the walls, the smell of leather, sweat, and liniment oil. Steam rises from the showers in the corner. A bat rolls slowly across the concrete floor. Nobody picks it up. Lou Gehrig stands near his locker, his face pale, mouth slightly open. Tony Lazary's eyes are wide. Bob Musil looks down at his shoes. They have all seen Ruth angry before, seen him argue with umpires, seen him throw bats, seen him storm off the field. But this is different. This crosses a line nobody thought he would cross. Ruth's hand tightens, not enough to crush, not enough to seriously hurt, but enough to show dominance, enough to say without words that he is bigger, stronger, more powerful than this little man who dares to discipline him. Huggins's feet are barely touching the ground. His face is turning red, but his eyes do not show fear. They show something else: determination, authority, the refusal to back down even when facing a man twice his size. "Let me go." Huggins says each word separately, quietly, but with absolute command. Ruth's grip loosens slightly, not because he is afraid, not because he suddenly respects Huggins, but because something in those words, in that tone, reminds him of a line he is about to cross, a line that once crossed cannot be uncrossed. He releases Huggins. The manager drops to his feet, adjusts his collar, does not rub his throat, does not show weakness, just stands there, smaller than Ruth, weaker than Ruth, but somehow, in this moment, more powerful. "You're done, Babe," Huggins says again, his voice steady. "Pack your things. You're suspended indefinitely. $5,000 fine, and you will not play for the Yankees again until you apologize to me, to this team, and to the organization. Publicly." Ruth cannot believe what he is hearing, cannot process it. He is Babe Ruth, the Sultan of SWAT, the man who fills stadiums, the reason people buy tickets, the player who single-handedly changed baseball from a pitching game to a power game. Without him, the Yankees are nothing, and this little man thinks he can suspend him? "You're making a mistake," Ruth says, his voice low, threatening. "I bring people to the stadium. I sell tickets. I make money for this team. You suspend me, the Yankees lose. The fans will riot. The owners will fire you. Huggins does not blink. Maybe, but discipline is more important than ticket sales. Team is more important than any one player. Even you. He turns to the team. Anyone who has a problem with this decision can leave with Ruth right now. Anyone who thinks one player is bigger than the team can walk out that door. Nobody moves. Not Lou Gehrig. Not Tony Lazzari. Not Bob Musial. These are Ruth's teammates. Some of them are his friends. But nobody defends him. Nobody speaks up. The silence is devastating, more devastating than any words could be. Ruth looks around the room, sees the faces, some sympathetic, some embarrassed, some quietly satisfied that the mighty Babe is finally being held accountable, but all of them silent, all of them choosing Huggins over Ruth. "This is bullshit," Ruth says. He grabs his bag, storms toward the door, stops, turns back, points at Huggins. "You're finished. I'm going to the owners. I'm going to the press. I'm going to destroy you for this." Huggins stands his ground. "Do what you need to do, Babe. I've already informed Colonel Ruppert. He supports my decision completely." Ruth's face goes pale. Colonel Jacob Ruppert, Yankees owner. The man who pays Ruth's salary. The man Ruth thought would always protect him because Ruth makes Ruppert money. If Ruppert supports Huggins, then this is not just a manager's decision. This is ownership backing discipline over profit. Ruth leaves, slams the locker room door so hard it rattles the walls. Gone, the greatest player in baseball, suspended, $5,000 poorer, and, for the first time in his career, facing real consequences for his behavior. The team sits in silence for a long moment. Then Huggins speaks. "Get dressed. We have a game in 2 hours, and we're going to win it." His voice is calm, professional, as if nothing happened, as if he did not just suspend the most famous athlete in America. Outside the stadium, Ruth walks fast, angry, humiliated. He does not know where he is going, does not care, just needs to move. Needs to burn off this rage. People recognize him. "Babe! Babe Ruth!" They want autographs, want pictures, want to shake his hand. He ignores them, pushes past. One man grabs his arm. "Babe, what happened? Why aren't you playing today?" Ruth pulls away. "Ask your manager," he growls. Keeps walking. He finds a bar, 3 blocks from the stadium. Dark, quiet, perfect, orders whiskey, double. The bartender recognizes him but has the sense not to say anything, just pours the drink, slides it across. Ruth downs it in one swallow, orders another, and another. By the time the game starts, Ruth is 5 drinks deep, sitting alone in a bar while his team plays without him. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that they win. 6-2. Without Babe Ruth, without their star, they win. The radio behind the bar broadcasts the game. Ruth cannot help but listen. Bottom of the 6th inning, Lou Gehrig hits a double, drives in 2 runs. The announcer's voice is excited. Gehrig delivers again. The Yankees extend their lead. Ruth orders another drink. Thinks about smashing the radio, thinks about leaving, but he stays, glued to his bar stool, listening to his team succeed without him. Every hit feels like a betrayal. Every run scored feels like proof he is not as essential as he thought. What if this is the beginning of the end? What if the Yankees realize they are better off without his drama, without his late nights, without his constant need for attention? The next morning, Sunday, August 30th, the story breaks. Every newspaper in America runs it. Babe Ruth suspended. Ruth fined $5,000. Huggins takes stand against Ruth's behavior. The details vary. Some papers say Ruth attacked Huggins. Others say it was just an argument. but all of them agree on the core facts. Ruth is suspended indefinitely. He will not play until he apologizes, and the Yankees are standing behind their manager. Ruth reads the papers in his hotel room. Still in St. Louis, still fuming. The coverage is brutal. Columnists who usually praise Ruth are now questioning his professionalism. Fans who adore him are split. Some support him, say Huggins is a tyrant, say Ruth deserves better. Others say Ruth has been out of control for years, that someone needed to finally discipline him, that Huggins did the right thing. Ruth is not used to this, not used to criticism, not used to consequences. His whole life, his talent has protected him. Coaches looked the other way when he broke rules. Managers made exceptions for him. Owners paid him more money to keep him happy. But now, for the first time, someone said no. Monday, August 31st. Ruth is still in St. Louis, still suspended. The Yankees are in Chicago now, playing the White Sox, winning again. 5-3. Ruth watches from his hotel room, listens on the radio, hears the announcer talk about Lou Gehrig's home run, about Tony Lazzari's defensive play. The team is functioning, thriving even, without him. This is the thought that keeps Ruth awake at night. What if they do not need him? What if his suspension proves that the Yankees can win without Babe Ruth? That afternoon, Ruth receives a telegram. From Colonel Ruppert, short, direct. Babe, Miller is right. You are wrong. Apologize and return, or stay suspended. Your choice. Ruth crumples the telegram, throws it across the room. His choice? This is not a choice. This is an ultimatum. Apologize or lose everything. But apologizing means admitting he was wrong, means showing weakness, means giving Huggins power over him. And Babe Ruth does not bow to anyone. Tuesday, September 1st, day 3 of the suspension. Ruth is in Chicago now, followed the team. Not with them, just in the same city. He goes to the stadium, not to play, just to watch. Sits in the stands wearing a hat and sunglasses, trying to blend in. It does not work. People recognize him immediately. That's Babe Ruth, whispers spread through the crowd. Heads turn, fingers point. Ruth sinks lower in his seat, watches the game. The Yankees win again, 4-1. 3 games in a row without Ruth. 3 victories. After the game, Ruth goes to a restaurant, sits alone at a corner table, orders steak, whiskey. The owner comes over, older man, Italian. Mr. Ruth, he says quietly, I am a big fan, but I must tell you something. You are wrong. Ruth looks up, surprised. Excuse me? The owner sits down, uninvited. I have a son, 16 years old, plays baseball, loves you, has your poster on his wall. But when I told him what happened with your manager, you know what he said? He said you acted like a bully, like a child who does not get his way. Ruth's jaw tightens. I don't need a lecture from... The owner holds up a hand. Please, let me finish. My son said something else. He said the great Babe Ruth should be great in everything, not just hitting home runs. Great in character, great in discipline, great in how he treats people. The owner stands. You are the best player in the world, but right now, you are teaching my son the wrong lesson. That talent excuses behavior. That fame means you do not have to follow rules. He walks away. Leaves Ruth sitting alone with his steak getting cold. That night, Ruth cannot sleep. He keeps thinking about the restaurant owner's words, about his son, about what kind of example Ruth is setting. He has always thought of himself as a hero, the guy kids look up to, the underdog who made it big. But maybe he has become something else. Maybe he has become the spoiled star who thinks he is above everyone. The thought bothers him. more than he wants to admit. Wednesday, September 2nd. Morning. Ruth wakes up with a decision. He does not want to apologize. Still thinks Huggins overreacted. Still believes he is being treated unfairly. But he also knows he cannot stay suspended forever. Cannot let pride destroy his career. Cannot let the Yankees prove they are better without him. He calls Colonel Ruppert. The conversation is short. Ruth says he will apologize. Ruppert says he is making the right decision, that Huggins will meet with him this afternoon. 3 p.m. Ruth arrives at the stadium, goes to Huggins's office. The manager is sitting behind his desk, reading reports. Does not look up when Ruth enters. "Close the door," Huggins says. Ruth closes it, stands there, waiting. Huggins finally looks up. "You have something to say?" Ruth takes a breath. This is harder than he thought it would be. "I'm sorry," he says. The words feel like glass in his throat. "I was wrong to grab you, wrong to threaten you, wrong to miss the train." Huggins studies him. "And what?" Ruth asks. "And are you going to change?" Huggins leans forward. "Babe, I don't care about the apology. Words are easy. What I care about is whether you understand why you're here, why you were suspended. It's not just about missing a train, it's about a pattern: drinking, gambling, breaking curfew, disrespecting team rules. You are the most talented player I have ever seen. But talent is not enough, not if you destroy yourself with poor choices." Ruth sits down, uninvited, looks at Huggins, really looks at him. "You think I'm destroying myself?" Huggins nods. "I know you are, and I'm trying to save you, not from me, from yourself." The words hit Ruth harder than expected, because deep down he knows Huggins is right. The drinking has gotten worse, the late nights, the reckless behavior. He has been spiraling, hiding it behind home runs and batting averages, but it is there, the self-destruction. "What do you want from me?" Ruth asks quietly. "I want you to be more than just a great hitter," Huggins says. "I want you to be a great teammate, a great example, a great man. You have a chance to be remembered as the greatest player who ever lived, but not if you keep this up, not if you let your demons win." Ruth looks down at his hands. The hands that have hit more home runs than anyone in baseball history. The hands that wrapped around Huggins's throat 3 days ago. Strong hands, powerful hands. But right now, they feel weak, useless. "You know what the hardest part is?" Ruth says, his voice barely above a whisper. "What?" Huggins asks. "Admitting I need help. Admitting I'm not in control. My whole life I've been able to hit my way out of problems. Can't pay rent, hit a home run, get a bonus, people angry at me. Hit 3 home runs, they forget, but this time my bat can't save me." Huggins is silent for a long moment. Then he speaks. "Babe, you grew up in an orphanage. You had nothing, no parents, no guidance, no structure. You taught yourself to survive by being bigger, louder, stronger than everyone else. That worked when you were a kid. But you're a man now, and men need discipline, men need accountability, men need to control themselves before they can control anything else." Ruth's eyes are wet. He blinks rapidly, refuses to let tears fall. "I'm scared," he admits. "Scared of what?" "Scared that without the drinking, without the late nights, without the chaos, I won't be able to hit. Like all of it is connected. Like if I stop being wild, I'll stop being great." Ruth shakes his hand, feels the strength in that small grip. Realizes that size and power are not the same thing. That real strength comes from discipline, from character, from doing what is right, even when it is hard. "You're reinstated," Huggins says, "but the fine stands. $5,000. And if you break team rules again, I will suspend you again. I don't care how many home runs you hit." Ruth nods. "Understood." He stands to leave, stops at the door. "Huggins?" The manager looks up. "Thank you," Ruth says. Means it. Huggins nods. "Get some rest. You're starting tomorrow." Thursday, September 3rd. 3 days after the suspension. Ruth is back in uniform, back in the lineup. The crowd at Comiskey Park erupts when they see him walk onto the field. Cheers, applause, some boos mixed in. Ruth does not acknowledge them, just focuses on the game, on proving Huggins right, on being more than just a hitter. First at-bat. Bottom of the second inning, Yankees down 1-0. Ruth steps into the batter's box. The White Sox pitcher, Ted Lyons, one of the best in the league, stares him down. First pitch, fastball, high and inside. Ruth takes it, strike one. Second pitch, curveball, low and away. Ruth watches it. Ball one. Third pitch, fastball, right down the middle. Ruth swings. The sound is like a cannon shot. The ball rockets toward left field, higher, farther, over the fence, over the wall, into the street beyond. Home run. Ruth rounds the bases. Not showboating, not celebrating, just running. Professional. When he crosses home plate, he looks toward the dugout. Huggins is standing on the top step, clapping, slow, deliberate, respectful. Ruth nods. Huggins nods back. An understanding, a truce, a new beginning. The Yankees win 6-2. Ruth finishes 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs. But the statistics are not what matter. What matters is that he showed up on time, followed team rules, respected his manager, did his job without drama. After the game, reporters surround him. "Babe, how does it feel to be back? Are you and Huggins okay now? Do you regret what happened?" Ruth keeps his answers short, professional. "I'm glad to be playing. The suspension taught me something. I need to be better, not just as a player, as a person." The reporters write it down, some skeptical, some impressed. Time will tell if he means it. The 1925 season ends badly for Ruth. His worst statistical year since becoming a full-time hitter. Batting average .290, home runs 25. Far below his standards. The Yankees finish 7th, their worst placement in years. But something changed during those 3 days in September. Ruth started taking care of himself, started respecting team rules, started understanding that being great requires more than talent. It requires discipline, sacrifice, team-first mentality. The following year, 1926, Ruth comes back strong, batting .372, 47 home runs, 146 RBIs, leads the Yankees to the World Series. And every time someone asks him about the turnaround, he gives the same answer. "Miller Huggins saved my career. I was destroying myself, and he had the courage to stop me. I hated him for it at the time, but he was right, and I was wrong." Years later, after Huggins dies in 1929, Ruth speaks at his funeral, cries openly. Says Huggins was more than a manager. He was a father figure, a moral compass. The man who cared enough to discipline him when everyone else just wanted to use him. The man who saw potential not just in Ruth's swing, but in Ruth's character. The small man who stood up to the giant and refused to back down. The truth about those 3 days in September 1925 is not just about a suspension. It is about what happens when talent meets accountability, when ego meets discipline, when a superstar faces consequences for the first time and has to choose between pride and growth. Ruth chose pride for 2 days. But on the 3rd day, he chose growth. And that choice changed everything. Not just his career, but his legacy. He could have been remembered as the greatest hitter who wasted his potential. Instead, he became the greatest player who learned from his mistakes. That moment in the locker room. Ruth's hand on Huggins's throat. That was the lowest point, the turning point, the moment that could have ended everything. But Huggins did not give up on him, did not write him off, just held him accountable, set boundaries, demanded better. And Ruth, despite his anger and pride, eventually responded, eventually understood, eventually became the player and the man Huggins knew he could be. The $5,000 fine was never refunded. Ruth paid every cent, said it was the best money he ever spent, because it bought him something more valuable than any home run record. It bought him self-respect. It bought him the knowledge that he could change, could grow, could be more than just a talented athlete making poor choices. He could be a legend who earned his place in history not just with his bat, but with his character. September 2nd, 1925. 3 days after being suspended, Babe Ruth walked into Miller Huggins's office and apologized. He did not want to, did not think he should have to, but he did it anyway, and that decision, that moment of humility, saved his career and cemented his legacy. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not hitting a home run. Sometimes it is admitting you were wrong and having the courage to do better.